and they're in One Weekly News and look at the national and international events. Welcome to you all. Here are the headlines. Details are coming up shortly. President of the Republic receives the new FLN Secretary General as well as credentials from 4 new ambassadors to Algeria. The Army General Said Ben Shengri participates in extraordinary session of DJAZAIR. Algeria passes law to protect media freedom, while others used to imprison journalists remain on the books. WHO says disease could kill more in Gaza than bombs amid Zionist seas, and UN agency reports Gaza City as a ghost town. The truce between Hamas and Zionists feeds hopes for respite, access to people in need, and intensive talks and the way to extend it as deadline looms. New U.S. sanctions target illicit financial network aiding Iran military and a tragic loss for the Algerian music. Welcome to the details. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, sent Tuesday a message on the eve of the celebration of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, November 29, translated by APS. And in another context, the President of the Republic received Tuesday the new Secretary General of the National Liberation Front, FLN Party, Abdelkarim Ben Mbarak, at the letter's request, according to a press release from the Presidency of the Republic. The President of the Republic received on Monday the credentials of 4 new resident ambassadors, according to a statement issued by the Presidency of the Republic. Army General Said Shengria, Chief of the Staff of the People's National Army (ANP), took part on Tuesday in Algiers at the work of extraordinary session of the Council of Chiefs of Staff of the member countries of the Joint Operational Staff Committee (JOSC), according to a press release from the Ministry of National Defense. Algeria's National Council on Tuesday passed a new media law the officials hailed as a major victory for the country's journalists, as concerns about press freedoms have plagued President Abdelmajid Tebboune's first term in office. And in Gaza file we see more people could die from disease than from bombings in the Gaza Strip if the health and sanitation systems are not repaired, the World Health Organization, WHO, has said. Critical infrastructure, the besieged territory, has been crippled by fuel and supply shortages and targeted attacks on hospitals and United Nations facilities. Critical infrastructure in the besieged territory has been crippled by fuel and supply shortages as targeted attacks on hospitals and United Nations facilities since the Zionist occupation launched strikes on Gaza on October 7th. As we drove through Gaza City, it was like a ghost town. All the streets were deserted, said Thomas White, the director of UNRWA affairs in Gaza. The impact of heavy airstrikes and shelling was so visible. Roads are riddled with craters, complicated aid deliveries. International mediators were working to secure a second extension to the truce in the Zionist-Palestinian conflict, as the pause in fighting was set to expire within hours. The crunch talks continued on Wednesday, the final day of a 2-day extension of a truce in the Gaza war, over conditions to extend the deal, which is set to end early on Thursday. They reiterated calls for access to all parts of the war-shattered enclave, where the death toll inched towards 15,000 and many displaced people were sleeping in the streets. UN Humanitarian Affairs Coordination Office spokesman Jens Leirick told reporters in Geneva that the hope regarding the agreement between Hamas and the Zionist occupation announced earlier this week is that the pause is respected, that it enables us to reach the people who need us, and that it will be extended into an actual humanitarian ceasefire in the long run. Besides the 96-hour humanitarian pause in fighting, the agreement, which was facilitated by Egypt, Qatar, and the United States, stipulates the release of hostages taken during the Hamas terror attack on Zionist occupation on 7th October, as well as Palestinian detainees from Zionist prisons. We hope the agreement will bring respite to the people of Gaza and Zionists and some relief to the hostages and detainees who will be released and to their families, Mr. Lurke said. People have been waiting in long queues for fuel and aid in the Gaza Strip as the 4-day truce between Zionists and Hamas appears to hold for a second day. Gazans are trying to make the most of the pause fighting to gather much-needed supplies, research for loved ones, and even take a walk by the sea. Some have visited their homes, or what is left of them, to see damage and recover what they can find. The truce has also seen more supplies allowed into the Palestinian territory. Zionists imposed a blockade on the Gaza Strip as it launched its retaliatory operation aimed at eliminating Hamas following its 7 October attack, in which militants killed at least 1,200 people and took more than 240 hostages. Nations adopt and pledge money to much-debated damage fund at Climate Summit. Delegates at the COP28 climate talks in Dubai formally adopted the Loss and Damage Fund Thursday to transfer finances to countries hit hardest by the climate crisis. The details had already been agreed earlier this month at the pre-COP session, when it was decided that the World Bank would host the fund. Several countries objected to the bank managing the money, in part because of its strong U.S. connections. All parties ultimately agreed on the condition that the World Bank's oversight of the fund would be temporary. We wrap up by the tragic accident the world of music has had, especially the Algerian artistic community, was jolted with the tragic news of the loss of two of its bright stars, Amin Lacolombe and Mohamed Bousmah, the duo known for their significant contributions to the Algerian musical genre of Rai, met with a fatal accident in Brussels, Belgium, during the early morning hours of Monday, November 27, 2023. The impact of this loss is deeply felt, as both artists were in the pinnacles of their careers, with a global following of over 3.5 million people on social media, and were on tour in Belgium at the time of the accident. That's all for today. Let me thank you once again for supporting and following us. Hope to see you well next week. Have a pleasant weekend. Goodbye.